You know, it's a sound that can totally divide a room. That zip, that chirp, that cut of a needle on vinyl. For some people, it's just noise. But for others, it's a whole language. Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're digging into how a complete accident in someone's bedroom grew into a global art form.
And this quote right here, it nails the whole problem. Think about it. Even at the highest level of competition, you've got judges, you've got people in the audience who hear these incredibly complex, mind-bending techniques and just write it off. Oh, it's just a bunch of noise. It's a battle for respect that turntablists have been fighting since day one.
But let's ask that question. What if it's not just noise? What if what you're hearing is actually a deep, complex musical conversation? Today, we're unpacking the whole story of turntablism. It's a wild ride, from that happy accident all the way to a global championship stage.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to jump in the time machine. We're not going to some fancy recording studio. No, our story starts on the streets, the raw, energetic streets of the Bronx back in the 1970s.
So, believe it or not, it all began with a really practical problem. You had DJs, like the legend DJ Kool Herc, who saw that the dancers, the b-boys and b-girls, they went absolutely crazy during the instrumental breaks of funk and soul records. The problem, those breaks were super short. So Herc's genius idea was to get 2 copies of the exact same record and just loop that break back and forth between 2 turntables. He stretched it out, creating endless danceable moments, and in doing so, he invented the breakbeat, the very heartbeat of hip-hop.
But the scratch itself, that was pure chance. Just picture this. A young kid, Grand Wizzard Theodore, is in his room cranking his music way too loud. His mom comes stomping down the hall and starts pounding on his door, yelling at him to turn it down. As he's listening to her, he puts his hand on the spinning record to pause it. But he's kind of startled, so he keeps his hand on it, just jiggling it back and forth under the needle, and boom! In that moment of trying not to get in trouble, he hears a sound that nobody had ever made on purpose before.
That was it. That was the big bang moment. The turntable was no longer just a machine for playing music. It could be the music. It could be an instrument. And pioneers like the incredible Grandmaster Flash, they saw that spark, and they just ran with it. They started perfecting these new sounds, turning this accident into a deliberate, powerful art.
And that one idea, that a turntable could be played, it changed everything. It wasn't just about creating a new sound anymore. This created a whole new type of musician, and it completely blew up the idea of what an instrument could even be.
And this is where we get a really important distinction. A traditional DJ, you could call them a selector. They pick the right records, they blend them smoothly, they control the vibe. But this new artist was different. This was the turntablist, a true musician who uses the turntable as their instrument to compose totally new, original pieces of music from scratch. Literally.
So they needed a name for this new art form, right? And that's where the word turntablism comes from. It was actually coined by DJ Babu to make that distinction crystal clear. This isn't just mixing records for a party. This is a musical discipline. And today it's recognized as one of the essential pillars of hip-hop culture, right up there with MCing, graffiti, and breakdancing.
So how does it actually work? Well, the first thing every single turntablist learns is called the baby scratch. And it really is as simple as it looks on screen. You just move the record back and forth. But please, do not let that simplicity fool you. Think of it like this. That simple back and forth motion, that's the single atom. And from that one atom, artists build entire universes of sound.
And from that one basic move, a whole new language exploded into existence. You have techniques like the transformer, which uses the mixer's fader to chop the sound up into these sharp rhythmic bursts, or the flare, which creates these incredibly fast, complex patterns. And then you have something wild like beat juggling, where a turntablist uses 2 copies of the same record to completely rearrange the drum pattern live, basically composing a new beat right there in front of you. Each one is a different word, a different tool in the toolbox.
Now, with all these new techniques and this growing vocabulary, the artists started pushing their gear to the absolute limit. Their imaginations were outrunning the hardware. So, the technology had to evolve, and it had to do it fast.
And the story of the gear is pretty fascinating on its own. It all started with the legendary Technics SL1200 turntable. The thing was built like an absolute tank.
You could beat it up all night and it would just keep going. But the real revolution, the true game changer, was when things went digital. Software like Serato came along and let DJs use a special piece of vinyl with a timecode on it to control any audio file on their laptop. I mean, just imagine that for a second. You get the real, physical feel of a record under your hand, but you can scratch with any sound in the entire world.
So now we've got the art form, we've got the vocabulary, we've got the tech. What comes next? Well, a competition, of course. This underground art form needed a way to find out, once and for all, who's the best. It needed a world stage.
1985. You got to remember this year. This is when everything changes. An organization called the Disco Mix Club, or DMC as everyone knows it, launched its first ever World DJ Championships. Suddenly, there was a formal international arena where the best of the best could battle it out for global bragging rights.
The format was simple, but absolutely brutal. You get 6 minutes. That's it. 6 minutes to go up on stage and prove to the entire world that you are number one. This wasn't about making people dance at a party anymore. This was a musical showdown. This was about taking the turntable to its absolute physical and creative limits.
In this stage, it created legends, gods of the craft. You had insane innovators like DJ Qbert, who literally invented scratches that people are still trying to master today. You had the ultimate competitor in DJ Craze, the only person in history to win 3 world titles in a row. You had a prodigy like A-Track, who blew everyone's minds by winning the whole thing when he was just 15 years old. And you have modern trailblazers like DJ Pearly and the dominant 2-time champ, K-Swizz.
But if you ask these artists, it's about so much more than just winning the trophy. It's about reaching that state of pure flow, you know? That place where the gear and the tech just disappear. There's no thinking, just doing. There's a perfect, seamless connection between the idea in your head and the sound coming out of the speakers. You become the instrument.
Which, brings us all the way back to where we started this whole conversation. After seeing the history, the technique, the competition, what's the verdict?
Is it just noise? No way. It's a language. It is a full-fledged global art form with a history, a deep technical vocabulary, and a culture that is built on one thing: relentless, non-stop innovation.
I mean, think about it. We went from a kid annoying his mom with some weird sounds to a global competitive circuit where artists perform musical miracles. It's proof that a brand new instrument can be born from a complete accident. The only thing we know for sure is that right now, somewhere out there, some other kid is in their bedroom, pushing and experimenting, looking for the next sound. So the real question isn't about what's been done. The real question is, what's next?